Good morrow, scholars. Welcome back to the short second life of Bree Tanner. Now, quiet phone. Now, I'm hoping that this is actually recording and not just being stupid like earlier. Anyway, for those of you that either don't remember or just a quick refresher, let's see. Just thinking about the girl scent had venom pooling in my mouth, I believe was the last sentence we spoke yesterday, in terms of what was read in the book. Anyway, before I start to ramble, don't let me forget that my goat patty is still cooking. I'm slowly simmering it rather than burning it outright. I mean, I'm still going to burn it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just doing it slowly. Are you with me? Riley bellowed. Everyone screamed his or her assent. Assent? I don't know. How would you pronounce it? Which part of the word would you stress? Let's take them down, kids. It was like the Barracuda again, only on land this time. Fred didn't move, so I stayed with him, though I knew I was wasting time I needed. If I were going to go get Diego and pull him away before the fighting could start, I would need to be near the front of the attack. I looked after them anxiously. I was still younger than most of them. Faster. Riley won't be able to think of me for about 20 minutes or so, Fred told me, his voice casual and familiar, like we'd had a million conversations in the past. I've been gauging the time. Even a good distance away, he'll feel sick if he tries to remember me. Really? That's cool. Fred smiled. I've been practicing, keeping track of the effects. I can make myself totally invisible now. No one can look at me if I don't want them to. I've noticed, I said, then paused and guessed. You're not going? Fred shook his head. Of course not. It's obvious we're not being told what we need to know. I'm not going to be Riley's pawn. Oh. Okay, for those of you that don't know, if you're fans of Twilight, I don't know how you wouldn't know, but there was this group of anti-Twilight people. They called themselves just antis, which I feel like was an imaginative name. They referred to Stephenie Meyer as the White Queen. I hope it's not because she's white, but they chose the Black Pawn as their symbol. I think it was called the Black Pawn Movement. And it was just to bash everything that Twilight stood for and everyone who was Twihard. Anyway, I think that's where they got the idea from. I mean, she kind of made it a little easy with all the chess imagery she was using. Anyway, so Fred had figured it out on his own. I was going to take off sooner, but then I wanted to talk to you before I left, and there hasn't been a chance till now. I wanted to talk to you too, I said. I thought you should know that Riley's been lying about the sun. This 4-day thing is a total crock. I think Shelley and Steve and the others figured it out too, and there's a lot more politics going on with this fight than he's told us, more than one set of enemies. I said it fast, feeling with terrible urgency the movement of the sun, the time passing. I had to get to Diego. I'm not surprised, Fred said calmly. And I'm out. I'm going to explore on my own, see the world. Or I was going on my own, but then I thought maybe you might want to come too. You'd be pretty safe with me, no one will be able to follow us. I hesitated for a second. The idea of safety was hard to resist in that exact moment. I've got to get Diego, I said, shaking my head. He nodded thoughtfully. I get it. You know, if you're willing to vouch for him, you can bring him along. Sometimes, seems like sometimes numbers come in handy. Yes, I agreed fervently, remembering how vulnerable I'd felt in the tree alone with Diego as the Four Cloaks advanced. He raised an eyebrow at my tone. Riley is lying about at least one more important thing, I explained. Be careful. We aren't supposed to let humans know about us. There are some kind of freaky vampires who stop covens when they get too obvious. I've seen them, and you don't want them to find you. Just keep out of sight in the day and smart hunt. What? Hunt smart. What the hey? I'm dumb. Don't judge me. Anyway, hunt smart. There we go. I looked south anxiously. I have to hurry. He was processing my revelation solemnly. Okay, catch up to me if you want. I'd like to hear more. I'll wait for you in Vancouver for one day. I know the city. I'll leave you a trail in... He thought for a second and then chuckled. Riley Park. You can follow it to me, but after 24 hours, I'm taking off. Oh. I hope he's not going to come back for her and then die. I'll get Diego and catch up to you. Good luck, Bree. Thanks, Fred. Good luck to you, too. I'll see you. I was already running. I hope so, I heard him say behind me. I sprinted after the scent of the others, flying along the ground faster than I'd ever run before. I was lucky that they must have paused for something for Riley to yell at them, I was guessing. Because I caught them sooner than I should have, or maybe Riley had remembered Fred and stopped to look for us. We were running at a steady pace when I reached them, semi-disciplined like last night. I tried to slide into the group without drawing attention, but I saw Riley's head flip around once to scan those trailing behind. His eyes zeroed in on me, and then he started running faster. Did he assume Fred was with me? Riley would never see Fred again, even if he wanted to. Well, I mean, he wants... Never mind. It wasn't 5 minutes later when everything changed. Did the Fire Nation attack? Raoul caught the scent. With a wild growl, he was off. Riley had us so worked up that it only took the tiniest spark to set off an explosion. The others near Raoul had the scent too, and then everyone went crazy. Riley's harping on this human had overshadowed the rest of his instructions. We were hunters, not an army. There was no team. It was a race for blood. Oh dear. Even though I knew there was a lot of lies in the story, I couldn't totally resist the scent. Running at the back of the pack, I had to cross it, fresh, strong. The human had been here recently, and she'd smelled so sweet. I was strong with all the blood we drunk last night, but it didn't matter. I was thirsty. It burned. I ran after the others, trying to keep my head clear. It was all I could do to hold back a little, to stay behind the others. The closest person to me was Riley. He was holding back too? He shouted orders, mostly the same thing, repeated. Christy, go around, move around, split off. Christy, Jen, break off. His whole plan of the two-pronged ambush was self-destructing as we watched. Riley sped up to the main group and grabbed Sarah's shoulder. She snapped at him as he hurled her to the left. Go around, he shouted. He caught the blonde kid whose name I'd never figured out and shoved him into Sarah, who clearly wasn't happy with that. I feel like I missed the sentence. Grabbed Sarah's shoulder. She snapped at him as he hurled her to the left. Go around. Okay. Christy came out of the hunting focus long enough to realize that she was supposed to be moving strategically. She gave one fierce gaze after Raoul and then started screeching at her team. They need to be quiet. This way, faster. We'll beat them around and get to her first. Come on. I'm spear point with Raoul, Riley shouted at her, turning away. I hesitated, still running forward. I didn't want to be a part of any spear point, but Christy's team was already turning on each other. Sarah had the blonde kid in a headlock. Nice. The sound of his head tearing off made my decision for me. I sprinted after Riley, wondering if Sarah would pause to burn the boy who liked to play Spider-Man. That's too bad. I mean, he's stupid, but still. I caught up enough to see Riley ahead and followed at a distance until he got to Raoul's team. The scent made it hard to keep my mind on things that mattered. Raoul, Riley yelled. Raoul grunted, not turning. He was totally absorbed by the sweet scent. That's a Pokemon move. Let's see. Where was I? Oh. I've got to help Christy. I'll meet you there. Keep your focus. I jerked to a stop, frozen with uncertainty. Raoul kept on, not showing any response to Riley's words. Riley slowed to a jog, then a walk. I should have moved, but he probably would have heard me try to hide. He turned, a smile on his face, and saw me. Bree, I thought you were with Christy. I didn't respond. I heard someone get hurt. Christy needs me more than Raoul, he explained quickly. Are you leaving us? Riley's face changed. It was like I could see his shifting tactics written on his features. His eyes widened, suddenly anxious. I'm worried, Bree. I told you that she was going to meet up with us to help us, but I haven't crossed her trail. Something's wrong. I need to find her. But there's no way you can find her before Raoul gets to the Yellow Eyes, I pointed out. I have to find out what's going on, he sounded genuinely desperate. I need her. I wasn't supposed to do this alone. But the others, Bree, I have to go find her now. There are enough of you to overwhelm the Yellow Eyes. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Oh. He sounded so sincere. I hesitated, glancing back the way we had come. Fred would be halfway to Vancouver by now. Riley hadn't even asked about him. Maybe Fred's talent was still in effect. Diego's down there, Bree, Riley said urgently. He'll be a part of the first attack. Didn't you catch his scent back there? Did you not get close enough? I shook my head, totally confused. Diego was there? He's with Raoul by now. If you hurry, you can help him get out alive. Interesting phrasing. We stared at each other for a long second, and then I looked south after Raoul's path. Good girl, Riley said. I'll go find her, and we'll be back to help clean up. You guys have got this. It might be over by the time you get there. He took off in a direction perpendicular to our original path. I clenched my teeth at how sure he seemed of his way, lying to the end. But it didn't feel like I had a choice. I headed south in a flat-out sprint again. I had to get Diego. Drag him away if it came to that. We could catch up with Fred, or take off on our own. We needed to run. I would tell Diego how Riley had lied. He would see that Riley had no intention of helping us fight the battle he'd set up. There was no reason to help him any... Oh, they're... Okay, right. I remember now. No, they did say they needed distractions. Let's see, where was I? I found the human scent and then Raoul's. I didn't catch Diego's. Was I going too fast, or was the human scent just overpowering me? Probably. Half my head was absorbed in this strangely counterproductive hunt. I'm pretty sure Diego's already dead. Sure, we would find the girl, but would we be ready to fight together when we did? No, we'd be clawing each other apart to get to her. And then I heard the snarling and screaming and screeching explode from ahead, and I knew the fight was happening, and I was too late to beat Diego there. I only ran faster. Maybe I could still save him. I smelled the smoke, the sweet, thick scent of vampires burning, carried back to me on the wind. The sound of mayhem was louder. Maybe it was almost done. Would I find our coven victorious and Diego waiting? That would be nice. There's just no time. I dashed through the heavy fringe of smoke and found myself out of the forest in a huge grassy field. I leaped over a rock only to realize in that instant I flew past it and that it was a headless what? Only to realize in the instant I flew past it that it was a headless torso. Oh, okay. My eyes raked the field. There were pieces of vampires everywhere and a huge bonfire smoking purple into the sunny sky. Out from under the billowing haze, I could see dazzling, glittering bodies darting and grappling as the sounds of vampires being torn apart went on and on. I looked for one thing, Diego's curly black hair. Mine's kind of wavy, but the longer it gets, the more it'll curl. I don't know why I brought that up, just saying. Where was it? No one I could see had hair so dark. There was one huge vampire with brown hair that was almost black, but he was too big, and as I focused, I watched him tear Kevin's head off and pitch it into the fire before leaping on someone else's back. Huge vampire with brown hair that was almost black. Could it be Emmett? Let's see. Was that Jen? There was another with straight black hair that was too small to be Diego. That one was moving so fast I couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl. Is that one Alice? I scanned quickly again, feeling horribly exposed. I took in the faces. There weren't nearly enough vampires here, even counting those that were down. I didn't see any of Christie's group. There must have been a lot of vampires burned already. Most of the vampires still standing were strangers. A blonde vampire glanced at me, meeting my gaze, and his eyes flashed gold in the sunlight. We were losing. Bad. I started backing toward the trees, not moving fast enough because I was still looking for Diego. He wasn't there. There was no sign he had ever been here. No trace of his scent, though I could distinguish the smells of most of Raoul's team and many strangers. I had made myself look at the pieces, too. None of them belonged to Diego. I would have recognized even a finger. I turned and really ran for the trees, suddenly positive that Diego's presence here was just another of Riley's lies. And if Diego wasn't here, then he was already dead. This fell into place for me so easily that I thought I must have known the truth for a while. Since the moment that Diego had not followed Riley through the basement door, he'd already been gone. I was a few feet into the trees when a force like a wrecking ball hit me from behind and threw me to the ground. An arm slipped under my chin. "Please," I sobbed. And I meant please kill me fast. The arm hesitated. I didn't fight back, though my instincts were urging me to bite and claw and rip the enemy apart. The saner part of me knew that that wasn't going to work. Riley had lied about these weak, older vampires, too. We'd never had a chance. But even if I had a way to beat this one, I wouldn't have been able to move. Diego was gone, and that glaring fact killed the fight in me. Suddenly, I was airborne. I crashed into a tree and crumpled to the ground. I should have tried to run, but Diego was dead. I couldn't get around that. It's really sad because they only knew each other for like 3 days. The blonde vampire from the clearing was staring intently at me, his body ready to spring. He looked very capable, much more experienced than Riley. But he wasn't lunging at me. He wasn't crazed like Raoul or Christie. He was totally in control. "Please," I said again, wanting him to get this over with. "I don't want to fight." Though he still held himself ready, his face changed. He looked at me in a way I didn't totally get. There was a lot of knowledge in that face, and something else. Empathy? Pity, at least. "Neither do I, child," he said in a calm, kind voice. "Could it be Carlyle?" I feel like it would be. "We are only defending ourselves." There was such honesty in his odd yellow eyes that it made me wonder how I had ever believed any of Riley's stories. I felt guilty. Maybe this coven had never planned to attack us in Seattle. How could I trust any part of what I'd been told? "We didn't know," I explained, somehow ashamed. "Riley lied. I'm sorry." He listened for a moment, and I realized that the battlefield was quiet. It was over. If I'd been in any doubt over who was the winner, that doubt was gone when, a second later, a female vampire with wavy brown hair and yellow eyes hurried to his side. "Carlyle?" she asked in a confused voice, staring at me. "She doesn't want to fight," he told her. The woman touched his arm. He was still tense to spring. "She's so frightened, Carlyle. Couldn't we—" The blonde, Carlyle, glanced back at her, and then he straightened up a little, though I could see he was still wary. "We have no wish to harm you," the woman said to me. She had a soft, soothing voice. "We didn't want to fight any of you." "I'm sorry," I whispered again. I couldn't make sense of the mess in my head. Diego was dead, and that was the main thing, the devastating thing. Other than that, the fight was over. My coven had lost and my enemies had won. But my dead coven was full of people who would have loved to watch me burn, and my enemies were speaking to me kindly when they had no reason to. Moreover, I felt safer with these two strangers than I'd ever felt with Raoul and Christie. I was relieved that Raoul and Christie were dead. It was so confusing. "Child," Carlyle said, "will you surrender to us? If you do not try to harm us, we promise we will not harm you." And I believed him. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, I surrender. I don't want to hurt anybody, except all those humans you killed on the boat." He held out his hand encouragingly. "Come, child, let our family regroup for a moment, then we'll have some questions for you. If you answer honestly, you have nothing to fear." I got up slowly, making no movements that could be considered threatening. "Carlyle," a male voice called, and then another yellow-eyed vampire joined us. Any sort of safety I'd felt with these strangers vanished as soon as I saw him. He was blond, like the first, but taller and leaner. His skin was absolutely covered in scars, spaced most thickly together on his neck and jaw. A few small marks on his arm were fresh, but the rest were not from the brawl today. He had been in more fights than I could have imagined, and he'd never lost. His tawny eyes blazed, and his stance exuded the barely contained violence of an angry lion. "That's Jasper." I've mentioned it before. Jasper's always been my favorite of the vampires. Carlyle, I guess, would be second. A close second, I suppose. I hope I don't forget to check on my burger. Oh, well, I was going to burn it anyway. Jasper. Oh, hey, no, I'm sorry. I just got excited. I saw the name. As soon as he saw me, he coiled to spring. "Jasper," Carlyle warned. Jasper pulled up short and stared at Carlyle with wide eyes. "What's going on?" "She doesn't want to fight. She's surrendered." The scarred vampire's brow clouded, and suddenly I felt an unexpected surge of frustration, though I had no idea what I was frustrated with. Oh, okay. Carlyle, he hesitated, then continued. I'm sorry, but that's not possible. We can't have any of these newborns associated with us when the Volturi come. Do you realize the danger that would put us in? I didn't understand exactly what he was saying, but I got enough. He wanted to kill me. Jasper, she's only a child, the woman protested. We can't just murder her in cold blood. It was strange to hear her speak like we both were people, like murder was a bad thing, an unavoidable thing. It's our family on the line here, Esme. We can't afford to have them think we broke this rule. The woman, Esme, walked between me and the one who wanted to kill me. Incomprehensibly, she turned her back to me. No, I won't stand for it. Carlyle shot me an anxious glance. I could see that he cared a lot for this woman. I would have looked the same way at anyone behind Diego's back. I tried to appear as docile as I felt. Jasper, I think we have to take the chance, he said slowly. We are not the Volturi. We follow their rules, but we do not take lives lightly. We will explain. They might think we created our own newborns in defense, but we didn't, and even if we had, there was no indiscretion here, only in Seattle. There is no law against creating vampires if you control them. Yeah? Carlyle touched Jasper's shoulder tentatively. Jasper, we cannot kill this child. Oh, I left out a sentence, sorry. This is too dangerous. Or did I say that and I just forgot? Anyway. Jasper glowered at the man with the kind eyes, and I was suddenly angry. Surely he wouldn't hurt this gentle vampire or the woman he loved. Then Jasper sighed, and I knew it was okay. My anger evaporated. I don't like this, he said, but he was calmer. At least let me take charge of her. You two don't know how to deal with someone who's been running wild so long. Of course, Jasper, the woman said, but be kind. Jasper rolled his eyes. We need to be with the others. Alice said we don't have long. Carlyle nodded. He held his hand out to Esme and then headed past Jasper back toward the open field. You there, Jasper said to me, his face a glower again. Come with us, don't make one rash move, or I will take you down. I felt angry again as he glared at me, and a small part of me wanted to snarl and show my teeth, but I had a feeling he was looking for just that kind of excuse. Jasper paused as if he'd just thought of something. Close your eyes, he commanded. I hesitated. Had he decided to kill me after all? Do it! Anyway. I gritted my teeth and shut my eyes. I felt twice as helpless as I had before. Follow the sound of my voice and don't open your eyes. You look, you lose. Got it? I nodded, wondering what he didn't want me to see. I felt some relief that he was bothering to protect a secret, that there was no reason to do so if he was just going to kill me. I wonder what it is. I walked, this way. I walked slowly after him, careful to give him no excuses. He was considerate in the way he led, not walking me into any trees at least. I could hear the way the sound changed when we were in the open. The feel of the wind was different too, and the smell of my coven burning was stronger. I could feel the warmth of the sun on my face, and the insides of my eyelids were brighter as I sparkled. What page was I on when I started? Let's see. Okay, I've read 16 pages. He led me closer and closer to the muffled crackle of the flame, so close that I could feel the smoke brush my skin. I knew he could have killed me at any time, but the nearness of the fire still made me nervous. Sit here, eyes closed. The ground was warm from the sun and the fire. I kept very still and tried to concentrate on looking harmless, but I could feel his glare on me, and it made me agitated. Though I was not mad at these vampires, who I truly believed had only been defending themselves, I felt the oddest stirrings of fury. It was almost outside myself, as if it were some leftover echo from the battle that had just taken place. The anger didn't make me stupid, though, because I was too sad, miserable to my core. Diego was always in my mind, and I couldn't help thinking about how he must have died. I was sure there was no way he would have voluntarily told Riley our secrets that had given me a reason to trust Riley just enough until it was too late. In my head, I saw Riley's face again, that cold, smooth expression that had formed as he threatened to punish any of us who wouldn't behave. I heard again his macabre An oddly detailed description. When I take you to her and hold you as she tears off your legs and then slowly burns off your fingers, your ears, lips, tongue, and every other superfluous appendage one by one. I realized now that I'd been hearing the description of Diego's death. That night, I'd been sure that something had changed in Riley. Killing Diego was what had changed Riley, had hardened him. Why didn't I see that connection? I mean, I kind of called it, but it was so obvious anyway. I believed only one thing that Riley had ever told me. He had valued Diego more than any of the rest of us, had even been fond of him, and yet he'd watched our Creator hurt him. No doubt he helped her, killed Diego with her. I wondered how much pain it would have taken to make me betray Diego. I imagined it would have taken quite a lot, and I was sure it had taken at least that much to make Diego betray me. I felt sick. I wanted the image of Diego screaming in agony out of my head, but it wouldn't leave. And then there was the screaming there in the battlefield. My eyes fluttered, but Jasper snarled furiously, and I clenched them together at once. I'd seen nothing but heavy lavender smoke. Heard shouting and a strange, savage howling. It was loud, and there was a lot of it. I couldn't imagine how a face would have to contort to create such a noise, and the not knowing made the sound more frightening. These yellow-eyed vampires were so different from the rest of us, or different from me, I guess, since I was the only one left. Riley and our Creator were long gone by now. I heard names called: Jacob, Leah, Sam. There were lots of distinct voices, though the howls continued. Of course, Riley had lied to us about the number of vampires here, too. Well, technically, I suppose. The sound of the howling tapered off until it was just one voice, one agonized, inhuman yowling that made me grit my teeth. I could see Diego's face so clearly in my mind, and the sound was like him screaming. I heard Carlyle talking over the other voices and the howling. He was begging to look at something. Please, let me take a look. Please, let me help. I didn't hear anyone arguing with him, but for some reason his tone made it sound like he was losing the dispute. And then the yowling reached a straightened new pitch, and suddenly Carlyle was saying thank you in a fervent voice, and under the yowl there was the sound of a lot of movement by a lot of bodies, many heavy footsteps coming closer. I listened harder and heard something unexpected and impossible. Along with some heavy breathing, I'd never heard anyone in my coven breathe like that. There were dozens of deep thumping noises, almost like heartbeats, but definitely not human hearts. I knew that particular sound well. Did you know that Superman, if he spends enough time with you, he can tell your heartbeat from others? That's why Batman developed a device that keeps his heart from being heard by Superman. Just something to think about. Where was I? I sniffed hard, but the wind was blowing from the other direction, and I could only smell the smoke. Without a warning sound, something touched me, clapped down firmly on either side of my head. My eyes started to open in panic as I lurched up, straining to jerk free of this hold, and instantly met Jasper's warning gaze about 2 inches from my face. Stop it, he snapped, yanking me back down on my butt. I could only just hear him, and I realized that his hands were sealed tight against my head, covering my ears entirely. Close your eyes, he instructed again, probably at a normal volume, but it was hushed for me. I struggled. This feels an awful lot like 50 Shades of Grey. I struggled to calm myself and shut my eyes again, and there were things that they didn't want me to hear either. I could live with that, if it meant I could live. For a second I saw Fred's face behind my eyelids, and he had said he would wait for one day. I wondered if he would keep his word. I wished I could tell him the truth about the yellow eyes and how much more there seemed to be that we didn't know. This whole world that we really knew nothing about. It would be interesting to explore that world, particularly with someone who could make me invisible and safe. But Diego was gone. He wouldn't be coming to find Fred with me. That made imagining the future faintly repugnant. I could still hear some of what was going on, but just the howling and the few voices, whatever those weird thumping sounds had been, they were too muted now for me to examine them. I did make out the words then. A few minutes later, Carlyle said, "You have to." His voice was too low for a second, and then, "From here now." If we could help, we would, but we cannot leave. There was a growl, but it was oddly unmenacing. The yowling became a low whine that disappeared slowly, as if it was moving away from me. Ooh, okay. It was quiet for a few minutes. I heard some low voices, Carlyle and Esme among them, but also some I didn't know. I wished I could smell something. The blindness combined with the muted sound left me straining for some source of sensory information. It's a horrible thing to do to somebody, sensory deprivation. In the world's quietest room, people, I think the maximum anybody's been able to stay in that room is like 45 minutes. It's so quiet in there that you can hear, I know you can hear your heartbeat, but I think you can actually hear your blood as it's going through your veins. And it causes auditory hallucinations because of the lack of sound, but also you get like visual hallucinations and other such things. Just another little tidbit. If I remember, I'll put a link in the description to this particular room. Anyway, I'm going to probably end the video here soon, and then we'll finish up tomorrow. Let's see, where was I? Let's see. It's quite a few minutes. But all I could smell was the horribly sweet smoke. There was one voice, higher and clearer than the others, that I could hear most easily. Another 5 minutes, I wondered whoever it was. I heard whoever it was say. I was sure it was a girl who was speaking. And Bella will open her eyes in 37 seconds. I wouldn't doubt that she can hear us now. I tried to make sense of this. Was someone else being forced to keep their eyes shut, like me? Or did she think my name was Bella? I hadn't told anyone my name. I struggled again to smell something. More mumbling. I thought that one voice sounded off. I couldn't hear any ring to it at all, but I couldn't be sure with Jasper's hand so securely over my ears. 3 minutes, the high, clear voice said. Jasper's hands left my head. You'd better open your eyes now, he told me from a few steps away. The way he'd said this frightened me. I looked around myself quickly, searching for the danger hinted at in his tone. One whole field of my vision was obscured by the dark smoke. Close by, Jasper was frowning. His teeth were gritted together, and he was looking at me with an expression that was almost frightened. Not like he was scared of me, but like he was scared because of me. I remembered what he'd said before about my putting them in danger with something called a Volturi. I wondered what a Volturi was. I couldn't imagine that this scarred-up, dangerous vampire would be afraid of. Wait, what? I couldn't imagine what this scarred-up, dangerous vampire would be afraid of. Okay, I'll end this video here because it's past 30 minutes. We got about that much left. Well, we have 21 pages left. Some of this is from the host. Yes, that's right. I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know what you guys think. Man. Okay, like I said, she definitely got better with the writing of this one compared to the main series. And I should have seen the connection there. Even though I didn't and I made the correct call in the end, I was right for the wrong reasons. Well, I was right for the right reasons, but I didn't get all of the reasons, I think, is really what was going on. So let me know what you guys think. I'm going to go finish making my lunch. I'm probably going to have, like, the goat burger and a few eggs. And I'm really getting into the whole protein thing. Let me know if you think I should go vegan for... I think I'll go vegan for Lent. I'm not a practicing Catholic, but I still practice a lot of the rituals and traditions just because it's something that appeals to me, I suppose. I don't know. Let me know if you guys agree with that or whatever, and thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you want me to try and rework the ending. I feel like because it happened so long ago in the short term of this book, that rewriting it so that Diego is alive is going to be highly unlikely. Plus, I mean, as much as I liked him, his death kind of serves a purpose. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, and until next time, goodbye, everybody.